Hello, everyone, and welcome to Conversations in Horror, Halloween 2024. We are so excited to be doing these special episodes during the month of October and the Halloween season because, as any great horror fan knows, this is one of our favorite times of the year where we get to explore lots and lots and lots and lots of different horror films, not just the Halloween franchise films, but also many different types of horror films out there and explore all the different subgenres of horror. I know if you're all like me and you like to do your 31 days of Halloween, you're watching a different horror film every day until the big night. Uh, so I'm actually hoping that the movie we're discussing today is one of those 31 Days of Halloween films that you're watching. And if not, I hope you've seen it before. And if you haven't, you need to take your butt out there and go watch it. It is Apollo 18.
Yeah.
2011, and from who's behind me and who's
behind the action here?
doing my special guest tonight is Jim Adams. We want to welcome Jim Adams back. And we are doing Apollo 18, which is a rarity because we haven't done many found footage films. So
I was going to ask if you'd done a found footage film yet.
We have done we've done at least one, I think.
Oh, okay. Maybe Paranormal Activity.
Yeah,
well, there you go. That's probably one of the most famous, other than Blair Witch, which started it all.
Yeah, we haven't done that.
All I know is when I think Halloween, I think Apollo 18, man. No. No, I'm with you. I will watch a different genre of horror film all through October. I love this time of the year. And all these streaming services, cooperate. So you have no shortage of material to find.
You don't, and I am sad to say that I am not keeping up with my 31 Days of Halloween this year because we're too busy recording episodes for the show.
So that's true. I got to say, yeah, it's sort of the same. I've got my own podcast. It's really, and I'm doing the same thing, special movies for the Halloween season. So it keeps you busy.
But I can't remember, so you have to forgive me if I get the facts wrong. But when this came out in 2011, I don't think there was many found footage films that took place in space.
No. In fact, I vividly remember this because 2011 is when the tornado destroyed my house. So this film came out, or they were starting to. I was taking care of my mom at the time. This is back when mom was still alive. We were in the house when it got destroyed. So at this point, we were living in an apartment. And fortunately for me, the apartment was like half a mile from the big movie theater in Cartersville, Georgia. So it was great. We saw a lot of movies this summer getting the new house built. And we had gone to see Puss in Boots. So mom wanted to see that. And I said, yeah, that looks sort of cute. I want to go see that. I like 3D animation. And they had a trailer for this movie. And
okay.
I mean, she's getting ready to leave, because her movie's over, and I'm seeing this trailer, and I'm going, "Oh my God, I've got to see this movie." I mean, because I didn't know if it was real or not. I thought, they really sort of got me going here a little bit. I think I was a little traumatized from the old tornado incident, but I was still looking at this thing, going, "Man, because was there a secret mission that they launched, and it's just now coming out?" And I was buying it all the way. Now, by the time I went and saw the movie, I realized it was a found footage film. But this is still one of my all-time favorite found footage films. I think they did such a good job with it. I really loved the way they did it.
You are the only person I've met who actually enjoys this movie. I love this movie.
Most people hated it. Yeah.
It's like they realized that the little creatures were rock creatures, and it's like, well, that's stupid. No, up until the point where you realize they're rock creatures. This movie really has a grip on you because
they certainly did. I think the director was influenced by the face huckers in Alien, because they had little tentacles and they could grab a hold of you or whatever, or get inside of you and stuff. There's some nasty stuff that goes along with this. I think they're great. I think they're great monsters.
I will agree with you on that because I thought it was really cool monsters when I saw this at the theater.
Yeah.
Because I saw this. So anyone, most of the people out there who's listening to this knows that I'm a big found footage fan. So of course I saw this at the theater.
Me too. Yeah.
And I was probably the only person who, no, actually, I believe that I was not the only person in the theater when I saw this one. A lot of found footage films when I went to go see them would either have lots of people in them or they would be completely empty.
Yeah, I remember this one. This one was sort of sparsely attended. I mean, I'm a space geek.
So
I mean, from the Mercury, program all the way. I mean, I followed every space, mission that there was, that they would televise. So, I mean, I was so into it, and I was heartbroken in 1972 when they announced, "Oh, we're not going to do it anymore. We got these three planned, 18, 19, and 20, but we're canceling them. We're not going to do it because we don't want to spend the money on it anymore." And it was like, oh man, I could not believe it. I mean, I was just, during those years when we had the 6 manned landings. I'm not counting Apollo 13 because they couldn't land, but the 6 that did make it on there. I mean, it was like this superhero stretch we're coming off of, because I'm a big comic book geek, and it was just like, wow. I mean, I couldn't turn around without finding a movie that I had to see. Yeah. So it was, those were good times during those years. And then, we're not going to do it anymore. Now we're going to just do this space taxi thing. And it was like, oh man, come on. I'm glad to hear that they're going back to the moon. We will be going back in a couple of years anyway. So,
and we'll figure out what really is on the moon.
Well, I think that's when the real story. Then we'll find out. Oh man, that wasn't just found footage. That was for real. Oh my god. Well, I mean, this movie spawned, conspiracy theories surrounding Apollo 19 and Apollo 20, and Apollo 20 was the one that we supposedly covertly landed on the moon to investigate a crashed spacecraft that we had discovered from some of the probes or whatever, and found an alien woman up there that was in this one crashed big, on the dark side of the moon. And 19 was one where the spacecraft and conspiracy guys, if I get it wrong, don't kill me. I'm just giving you a thumbnail. Apollo 19 actually crashed on the dark side because of the effect this alien spacecraft had or whatever. And so I got into that. I mean, there was all kinds of YouTube videos out for years about that. Tried to be totally legit, but you knew they were all bogus. But I mean, that was entertaining as hell.
The only thing I want to know about people living on the dark side of the moon are the Nazis from Iron Sky.
Oh, absolutely. No, I totally believe that was a historical drama. One of my favorite movies.
Oh my god! And it's so funny that we started.
I remember when I saw the trailer for that one, I went, "Nazis on the moon! I have got to see this movie." And then the sequel, which didn't get really any of the publicity that the first one did, was actually a hell of a lot of fun as well. When are you going to see Hitler riding a dinosaur? I mean, I got to, Hitler on a dinosaur. This is good entertainment here. So we'll have to talk about that somewhere down the road. I love Iron Sky. Yeah, I'm a huge Iron Sky fan.
Mike, getting back to Apollo 18.
But back to Apollo 18 now. Yes. So we've got we got the secret mission. Oh my goodness.
Well, it's a secret mission, and the thing is, when I was rewatching it, it kind of gives me the feeling of like the original Alien when the Nostromo is everyone's woken up to explore the planet, and without actually knowing why they've been awoken and stopped, and that's
just an emergency beacon, but they didn't know anything else other than that. Yeah.
And this is a movie in which they're sent out to a secret mission before they even know why they're going out there. I think they find out just before they take off. I mean, I think they mentioned something about they're putting these gizmos on the moon. It's like a deterrent, Soviet deterrent. It's That's the subterfuge. But I kind of
that's the.
I rewatch it. I kind of think of when they find the other, was it Russians? I think
it was Russian. Yeah. That was the shocker.
That's the whole reason why they go there.
Yeah, everybody was stunned. It's like, wait a minute, what do you mean the Russians landed on the moon? No, they didn't land on the moon. Yeah, they did.
So up until the point, it plays like you would normally see any type of exploration footage.
A lot of home movies of them with their families and talking to the news people, and
yeah, and it feels authentic because it's some of the same type of footage we saw with real space.
Absolutely.
Space. What do you call it? Missions.
Space missions or whatever. Yeah.
When I was rewatching it, I realized that I was like, oh, these feel like other actual space missions, and it feels authentic. It doesn't feel like, say, The Pyramid, as a found footage film, or As Above, So Below. Don't get me wrong, I love both those movies, but those don't really feel real.
No, you could very easily be fooled by this if you didn't know any better.
Yeah,
and it's amazing to me, because I didn't realize for the longest time, I didn't really pay attention, that the director of this film is Spanish. It wasn't an American. And
Lopez Gallego.
Yeah, I was going to let you say that. Yeah, because I was going to just trip.
I butchered it.
Yeah, I know, but then it was not only was he Spanish, but this was sort of like a joint Canadian film projects. A lot of the, I think 2 of the 3 of the astronauts this were Canadian or British actors.
Which is so funny, because one of the other reasons why I really wanted to see this is because I was a fan of Ryan Robbins, who plays Greg in this movie, because he was in one of my favorite shows at the time, which was Sanctuary.
That's right.
Dude, I love that.
That's sort of a dead giveaway for folks who were fans of that show. It's like, wait a minute.
Yeah, I wish he'd done. Well, see, that's the thing, is I don't know if he'd done any more than that, because Sanctuary was a show I absolutely loved, and then I knew he was in this movie, so I was like,
he had done another short-lived television series too, and I can't for the life of me think of the name of it. I always remembered Sanctuary because that one I watched.
Oh, that was such a good show.
The other one didn't last very long, and I cannot try to remember the name of it. I can't do the name of it right now.
No,
but yeah. He was probably the most recognizable actor out of the 3 that you see, because everybody else, other than the other 2 astronauts, they're all voices. They're just voices. The mission control guy.
So, I mean, in theory, this is really just a 3-person movie.
It's a 3-person film, yeah.
Well, I guess it's not really confined so much. I would love to have seen how they did this. I do know that the producer, Timur Murmatov, I can never pronounce that dude's name.
I know, yeah. His names are impossible.
Oh, God, it's so weird to try and say some of their names. Timur Murmatov. And the funny thing is, I actually love his work as a director. And when I realized that he had produced this, I was like, whoa, this seems different.
Yeah.
It seemed a little bit out of nowhere. And the thing is, because of the monsters in this film, it still looks and feels like a Burt Murmatov movie.
I can't pronounce it either. Yeah, I'll just say
I hate when I butcher
Timar. It's Timar or whatever his first name is.
I always kept saying Timur Bekmambetov. Yes,
yeah. I mean,
he's gonna watch he's gonna listen to our podcast and say, "Dead Kevin Powers butchered my name," but at least he likes my movies. Which I do love. I love his movies.
Now we can talk about Jose David Montero, because he was the cinematographer, and I thought the cinematography in this was great.
Yeah,
It was good. I mean, it was so authentic looking. And again, folks, I'm a space geek, and again, so I mean, I loved the Apollo missions, because usually they do a little television transmission when they're on the way to the moon. And you saw some of that in Apollo 13, in the movie Apollo 13, but I mean, the inside of their crafts looked very legitimate. I know they were incorporating a lot of actual NASA footage. They did pay tribute to NASA in this, although I had heard or read anyway, not heard, but read in other film books that NASA, said, okay, we're going to give you some footage, but that's all we want to do with this, because they didn't really like the idea of what they were doing, because of the whole conspiracy thing and all that. But they did cooperate a little bit with it. But I mean, it really looks so legitimate that you would not know that you would be hard pressed. Last when I watched it again yesterday, getting ready for the podcast here, and I specifically tried to look for things. Okay, is there anything where they gave themselves away? Their actual on the moon footage with the astronauts was shot in Canada at a soundstage in Canada, and it was like, damn, man, they really got this good.
They did.
It really looked solid. So now all of a sudden, all the people coming out of the woodwork saying, "See, we never really landed on the moon." Stanley Kubrick made the movie that they showed in 1969. It's like, yeah, go eat it.
Yeah, I think Stanley Kubrick couldn't have directed it because he would have been way too anal. It would have taken 2 years for him to finish the damn thing.
2 years. It would have been a lot longer than that. Oh my God. Yeah, I tell people, that I have friends that still believe we never landed on the moon and stuff, and said, get a 3-inch telescope and go train it on the moon, and you can actually see the sites where we've landed. That 3 inches big enough where you can actually, sort of see where we scuffed up and left stuff up there and all that. So don't give me that crap.
Yeah, which plays into some of the aspects of the movie itself when our 3 American astronauts come across the footprints, and they're like,
yes, yeah.
It's the story aspects like that I really enjoyed about this movie when I was rewatching it, because it's so subtle,
yes.
Except for when the camera or editing specifically wants the audience to kind of zoom in on moves. It's like the person who put the footage together, which they mentioned that someone put the footage.
Yes, that's right. They did. Yeah. I don't think they made any mistakes on this that I could see.
Yeah, it's one of those things where some of the other found footage movies, you can't really believe certain aspects because you're wondering how anyone would ever get the footage to do some of the stuff that's in the movie. But
the biggest mistake that a lot of them make is they forget it's supposed to be found footage, so there's not going to be seamless segues and stuff. It's just like, the camera starts and stops. When you're shooting stuff, you've got to do it that way, and some of them get sort of artistic, and it's like, oops, you just gave yourself away. Yeah. It's got to be all point of view stuff, guys. Come on.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's one of the things I hated about the pyramid. The pyramid broke the fucking fourth wall.
All the place. Yeah.
Oh my God, I hate. But this movie does an excellent job of not doing that.
No, it does. It's incredible. I think some of the most intense scenes in here, in the subtlety, you mentioned the subtlety, when they're on the moon, the first time they go to sleep, and the little noises,
and
of course they've got the cameras running, because the cameras run all the time in those things, and something sort of brushes by the camera, something's in there with them. But it's not really overt, and it's really spooky. And the one thing about this film, I've got to give credit to Gonzalo, and I'm not going any further with your name, Gonzalo, because I don't want to screw it up.
That's smart. Let's do that.
The first time I saw this movie, I very quickly forgot that I was watching a movie. It really drew me in. I could feel the loneliness and the isolation and almost the cold of being up there on the moon. I mean, and when I walked out of the theater after seeing this, I couldn't get over that feeling that I had throughout that film. And so, however he did it, and maybe it was the realism of the footage how he put his footage together, I felt all that the first time out, and I couldn't shake that for months until I got around to seeing the film again.
Yeah,
and it was still there. I'm sort of numb to it now because I've seen this movie. I don't know how many times, I've lost count, but I will never forget those first few times, that loneliness, and that feeling that, if something screws up here, that's it. It's not like, the cops can come save your life or anybody could, that's it, because nobody could ever get up there in time to save you.
Exactly.
You're dead meat. And he did a really good job of bringing that about.
Yeah.
Of that whole feeling. It's like, oh man, we are so screwed here.
Well, you bring up something that for me plays up towards the very end when Gray is trying to figure out whether or not he needs to help his friend in the shuttle that's coming towards him, or listen to the people on the other side of the radio who tells him not to do anything, or they're going to refuse helping him. And you kind of like say, what do you want to do? You want to help your friend who you've been stuck in a little capsule for God knows how long, who
Yeah.
you lived your life with, or or listen to the people on the ground who don't know what's actually going on because they can't see what's going on.
Or do they?
Or do they?
Yeah, because that's the part I wasn't really anticipating when I first saw this.
Mm-hmm.
I should have, because I should have seen it a mile away. But really not until the one guy, and I can't think of his name now, gets into the Russian craft and is talking to the Russian deputy, whatever, deputy commissar of space or whatever, and it starts becoming apparent. He patches him into the Department of Defense and the DoD guy. Now all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute, he knows what's going on. I mean, they knew about this. They knew about this Russian landing and that these guys got killed by something. And I have not seen the DVD release with the deleted scenes, but there's some deleted scenes from this movie I was reading that were pretty gruesome. Like when they find the cosmonaut, it's just a body without a helmet. You know, the head's there, but the helmet's gone, and you don't know the lander's there yet. You don't see that until later. It's just this dead body and the guy's without a helmet, and your mind just goes to town on that one. It's like, what the hell happened to this guy? You know?
You know what? I'll have to look up the deleted scenes. I don't think I've ever seen the deleted scenes on the Blu-ray.
And I'm trying. I thought it was on. Well, I know that I know it was on the DVD, or from what I read, I haven't read about the Blu-ray. I know there's Blu-ray out there, but if there's a deleted scene section, there's a couple. They had a couple of alternate endings as well.
I'll have to watch those.
A little more gruesome as well. There was actually an alternate ending where Gray makes it back. He survives and makes it back, and they've got a scene where he was arguing with some Department of the Defense, secretary or something about, how could you do? How could you send us to this? And they spill the whole beans about, we were going to, we wanted you to get infected and come back with this thing so we could develop a bioweapon, because the Russians apparently are doing the same thing. I'm glad those didn't make it into the film. I think it would have screwed the film up.
Wow.
It would have destroyed the movie. I love it the way they made this film without all that extra stuff. So I think they had just what they needed in there to. Well, the last 10 minutes of this film are like some of the best minutes in a movie I've ever seen.
It's the
you talk about edge of the seat stuff, just nonstop. I mean, it's and you don't know where it's going to go. You're really not sure where it's going to go.
The only thing I can tell you is when I saw the ending, and I can't remember which one, the name of which astronauts in the other shuttle, and all of a sudden anti-gravity kicks in, and all the rocks start floating everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it was Ben. I think it was Ben was the one that was
Ben. Yes, it was Ben.
Oh my God, yeah.
I was not expecting that when I watched the movie.
I wasn't either. No, I thought, okay, he made it in there, and Nate is trying to bust his way in, and all that. I think there was a version, one of the other alternate endings had a bigger rock monster. All the ones we saw were little.
Yeah.
Relatively little. But a bigger one that shows up and smashes through the window of the Russian spacecraft. Jeez. Or whatever. But, see, again, that would have ruined it too. That was like, oh, no.
That would have ruined it.
Too cheesy. So I'm glad they didn't go that route either.
Yeah, same here.
But yeah, I'm with you. When those things start floating up as the gravity's disappearing and you're like, oh my God, there's about 50 of these things here. And then, and he doesn't have a helmet on, so he's totally exposed. And it's like, well, he's gone.
Yeah. And the thing is, I think the actors do a great job pulling off this film. That's one of the really, I think the key elements for a found footage film. Your actors have to be able to pull this shit off.
Yeah. Well, I think Lloyd Owen, who is the guy that played Nate, the big tall guy. I was he's a big tall guy because he was taller than anybody else, and he's the one that gets infected on the planet. Oh my God, the job he does with that, how he gets more and more infected, how this thing takes him over, and what he does with his eyes and his mannerisms, almost like pure living evil. Even though it's not meant to be evil, it's just he's being taken over by these alien creatures. It's masterful. It's some great stuff.
Yeah, it is. Especially in a time period when everyone was making so many found footage films.
Oh, I know. Yeah. Because they were really starting to come out quite a bit on this one.
But one of the things that sets this one apart from the other ones, other than the fact that it takes place in space, is also the fact that the visual effects are so good.
Very much so. Yeah.
I could bring up The Pyramid again as yet another found footage film with bad CGI, and that's from producer Alexander Aja, who I absolutely love as a director.
Yeah.
Falls apart in The Pyramid, and you definitely know it's a CGI master, and you're taking.
Well, and I'm looking at this, and the only CGI I suspect was the monsters.
The
little monsters. Because everything else was all practical, and some of those monsters could have been practical for all I know, but
yeah.
it's seamless.
It looks so good.
Yeah, so I'm glad they didn't depend on CGI, or if they did it really, really well.
Well, I also think that Tamir, after doing his night watch, day watch, he got the hand of being able to help produce extremely effective visual effects on a very budget.
Yeah. Well, these guys, they shot this for $5 million. I think it's $5.5 million, something like that.
Oh, wow.
Right around there. 5.6, 5.5. It returned on its first release $26 million. That is a massive success.
Yeah.
For any filmmaker, even in 2011. You make 5 times your budget, you're looking good. I mean, I'm surprised they didn't make more. Well, because I don't know how they could make another one of these.
Oh, they could always go back to
Apollo 19. Yeah.
They just call it something else, or they do the Russian ship. It's
that would have been interesting. Yeah, to do the backstory of the Russian ship.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, if I guarantee you, if they hadn't gotten as much criticism for the monsters, I think they would have done a sequel to this.
I read some of the critics that were really bad to this film, and it was like, again, did they watch the same movie I watched? Because it was just like some of their criticisms were so ridiculous.
They were. I remember.
It's slow and dull. It's what movie were you watching? I didn't think it was slow or dull. And there was one positive review that commented on especially the ending, the final minutes of the film and how exciting they were. But it was like, it doesn't have to be action all the time to be a good moving film. This film, the story dragged me in and it held on to me, and you really wanted to know what was going to happen to these guys.
Yeah.
Because, if something screws up, they're not coming home. Except for Gray, the guy up there that's orbiting. The one was Ryan Robbins.
Yeah, Ryan Robbins.
He's the only one that's got a chance of making it back. Of course, he doesn't in this version, because I guess when Ben gets taken over, he's coming in too fast, and of course they can't really link up because it's a Russian craft and an American craft, and he was going to have to sort of stop short and spacewalk in.
Yeah,
but he just ends up smashing into the other one, and the guy at the DOD goes, "Well, that saves us a lot of trouble." Yeah. It's pretty harrowing at the when you look at it at the end, when they talk about so and so died in a plane crash in a training incident, and this guy died in the mountains of some kind of accident, and the other guy, and it's like, yeah, that's sort of typical. Yeah, that's exactly what would have happened for real if this was for real. This is what the government
And that's one of the things I actually really enjoyed about this film, is that not only does it feel like a real person would have taken the footage and did this, and then added on those taglines at the end of what the official report
that
the 3 astronauts were. It's so often that in these found footage films that you get one of those immediate cutoffs at the end.
Yeah.
Like what happens in Devil's Due, and I think it happens in
they don't really close the door.
Another bad one, Phoenix Forgotten. Oh my God, that was horrible.
I never made it through it.
And that one was produced by Ridley Scott. And you wouldn't think.
I know. I was very disappointed with that one.
Yeah, there was a whole bunch of it. I think the criticisms on a lot of found footage films are the way that they end, the abrupt ending.
Yeah.
This is one of the few that has an abrupt ending, but it also has a tag.
Well, yeah, no, they seal up. I mean, they don't leave any loose ends. So it's like, yeah, okay, this is what happened back on Earth. They said, oh yeah, these guys, they were in, because they couldn't tell their families in the beginning they were going on a space mission. They even mentioned it says when they were doing the interview, the behind the scenes, or I mean, as part of it, the interview for with NASA, saying, yeah, I can't. He said the only hard part is I can't really tell my family I'm going to the moon. I wish they knew that, but maybe when I get back or something or other, and it's like. So yeah, as far as the family goes, yeah, they thought they were just going out of town on some kind of, that's the military. They're always calling you to do stuff out of town or whatever.
Well, he was going to bring back a space rock for his son.
Yeah.
Those things are nice little subtleties that you catch after you've already seen the film.
Yeah.
Let's talk about, is there any elements of the film that you didn't like? There's something that you don't think was as successful as it could have been. It's a hard one, isn't it?
Boy, that is a hard one. No, I was even thinking, when I think it was Ben goes down into the crater where there's another cosmonaut dead down there. And of course, he doesn't have a flashlight. He's got to use the flash on his camera. So it's, I love that effect just adds to the tension and all that. I thought that was a brilliant stroke because it's like, hey, you see something, gotta wait a minute. Then I see another thing, and you never know what's going to pop out at you. But if I was going to be really, really critical, if I was one of those guys who's trying to pick apart the science and all that stuff, it's like, okay, they made a big deal out of the fact that the suits weren't graded for the temperature that probably is going to be down there at the bottom of the crater. It's going to be so cold. It's, and they sort of forgot about that. He was down there for quite a bit. But I'm giving them that because I just loved what they were doing with the story with that little flash camera thing. It's like, it was like, that is so cool.
I thought that was brilliant too.
I'll give you that one.
Yep. Yeah. See, that's the thing about this one. This one is so effective compared to so many other ones.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
In that there is, for me, there's not a moment that takes me out of the film. It's kind of the opposite of like Paranormal Activity. The very, very, very ending of the very first one when they kind of show the demonic, I forget what it is, the main character just for a second. Kind of almost takes you out of the movie because up until that point it's like completely realistic. I can understand if you saw the original ending, you can understand why they did that.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, okay,
Yeah, see the very first Paranormal was the only one I really liked, and it had some really great moments in it. But I liked the ending of I saw the original ending. When it first came out in the theaters. And I was still a little surprised that people were screaming and hollering from the movie, because it was like, okay, look, those are really spooky scenes I'm seeing, but come on, guys. I guess I'm with the people that never grew up as monster kids.
They were not.
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed that. When the second one I did watch all the way through, but it was like, I've already been here. I've done this. It was almost just a carbon copy. And I never, in all honesty, I never saw any of the others. So it's like,
we talk about Paranormal Activity films in a previous episode, and I kind of told everybody, I like the third one the most. And then
I may have to go watch that one just from what you've said about it.
Yeah, because they did from the main characters when they were kids, and that adds a little bit more suspense when there's children involved in it. And of course, I like the marked ones. The marked ones was just entertainingly fun. The rest of them are, the last one is really,
it's like, Paranormal Activity 8. How much money can we make?
I will say this, Jason Blum, it says, I don't even know why I keep making these movies. You know why?
Because you're making money off of them. That's
well,
right.
the thing is, if you didn't make it and make the money, someone else would, because
That's right.
yeah,
That's
you
right.
gotta do it to try and keep everything together and stuff. I understand,
I
buddy.
don't know why I'm making this. Yeah, right. Yeah.
Because you're right. I think there's probably 8 fucking Paranormal Activity films, and I've still not seen the Japanese one yet because it hasn't been released here in the States.
I have not. Yeah, I haven't seen that either. Yeah.
But for Apollo 18, which is a genuinely great found footage film, in my opinion.
Yes, I think it. I think it is. I'm real close to saying I think it's the best one I've ever seen. There's a couple up there I really, really like. One that we're going to do down the road here, which I can't. That was the World War II one, Frankenstein's Army, which I really loved. Because again, that was one that I watched to see if they made any mistakes, and nope, they shot it like it was real found footage. They didn't make those, mistakes that a lot of them do. But this one just, I don't know, always rings true with me. I liked the Blair Witch Project, and I the only thing that I hated about that was when it had its premiere down here in Atlanta at the Terra Theater. The guy that wrote the article about it for the AJC mentioned, oh yeah, and Heather O'Donoghue and so they were in the lobby when everyone came out. I went, what? Wait a minute, they're supposed to be dead. I had bought it all the way up until that point, and I was like, oh, you just screwed it, man. Now I've got to go to the theater and see it, knowing this is a fraud. I thought it was for real. I saw the documentary on Sci-Fi Channel, totally bought it, and that I never forgave that writer for doing that. I said, no, how could you write that? For God's sake, that's the whole, that was the whole marketing genius that those two guys had. That's why the movie made so much money. But
it's so weird that with this subgenre, that some of them can be so effective to audiences and some of them fall flat on their asses.
Yeah.
Blair Witch Project and Paranormal Activity. Blair, in my opinion, Paranormal Activity is like rated G compared to most other ones.
Yeah.
But both of these films were effective for general audiences because people who don't go see horror films went to go see these two films. That's true. They were affected by them. Apollo 18 didn't have that same crossover appeal. I don't know why. I would have thought that if you were
people got tired of the space program after a while. After we landed on the moon, after the first couple of landings on the moon, and we saw it represented a little bit in Apollo 13, where they were showing the little TV show they were doing from outer space, and then the wife of Jim Lovell realized that the guys there at Mission Control were watching a baseball game, so that it wasn't on all the networks like the others had been. It was just sort of, regionally done. People just stopped watching them. They just,
okay, right.
Yeah, we've been on the moon. Yeah, we've been on the moon, 6 times. And, oh, yeah, big deal. And it was like, I never got tired of that. You could not land on the moon enough for me to get to the point where it's just another walk in the park. No, it was... I was just so into that, into the space program. So, but I think that may have been something like that.
When was this?
2011 is for Apollo 18.
Oh wow. Okay. I was trying to remember when space movies and TV shows were popular, and it was at the end of the 90s, beginning of the 2000s, because that's Apollo 13 and From the Earth to the Moon, which was freaking brilliant.
Oh, what a great, Oh. I went to high school with the gal that produced most of those episodes, Lily Feeney Zanuck. She was a high school mate.
I think by 2011, people just didn't care about the.
All we were basically doing were, we had this shuttle missions. We were launching satellites. They launched the Hubble, then they had to go back up and repair it because they screwed it up. They were just starting on some primitive versions of what is now the ISS. You had the Mir, which was like I don't know if it was as bad as what was portrayed in the movie Armageddon, but it was like, sort of a hunk of junk. But I mean, but it was just like, everyone's like, there wasn't anything exciting that we were doing out there. I'm ready to, I was ready to go to Mars. It's like, if you're not making a move to do something to get us to Mars, come on, guys. We landed on the moon more than 50 years ago. And we still haven't gotten any farther than we did back then. I mean, it's so frustrating.
You know what? I think the 2000s were, I don't think anyone liked space movies until Gravity came out, and the one that
was a good movie, yeah.
The one with the Jason Bourne, the one I have not seen yet, which is why I can't think of the name of it.
I have not seen that one yet either, too. Yeah, I know the one. I think it's the last one. Yeah.
The Martian, which were extremely popular. I don't think people were into space movies.
I don't think so. Yeah, I just there's a little bit of excitement brewing around a potential Mars mission by SpaceX. I think it was SpaceX. I think it's Elon Musk is trying to go into that.
Well, in the 2000s, the early 2000s, they had the 2 Mars movies that tanked horribly, Mission to Mars, and the other one I liked, which I can't think of the damn name for it.
It wasn't the Red Planet, but it was
Red Planet. Yes, Red Planet.
Was it Red Planet? Yeah,
it was Red Planet.
Was that the one with Val Kilmer? Because I like the one with Val Kilmer.
I love that movie. No matter how bad it is, that's a guilty
pleasure. Bill Paxton and all. Yeah, I love those. Yeah, I thought that one was the best of the 2. The other one was boring.
Yeah, it was boring. I rewatched that recently. I thought
The Martian was brilliant. Yeah, that was a great.
I don't think people cared about space movies until whenever Gravity and The Martian started coming out, which is after Apollo 18, which is probably what contributed to no one seeing it. I guarantee you the horror fans went to go see it, and that's why it only made about $25 million.
Yeah.
If it was,
the trailer, and I went back and I had not seen the trailer in 13 years. I mean, I saw the trailer ran at the movie theater, and I didn't see it again until tonight. I watched it about 15 minutes before I linked up with you for this recording, and it was like, now I see why I went to see this movie, because it was still a powerful trailer. It was like, man, you've got to go see this movie. But if you're not into space, then it's like, but I'm not that really big into astronauts and all that stuff. I could see that kept a lot of people away, probably.
Well, the other thing is that audiences were getting inundated with tons and tons of found footage films. And the thing is, because they were being produced for so little, they would turn and profit and then disappear. Like I mentioned, Devil's Due. You had The Gallows. You had all these movies that, when people think of this, that movie tanked. Well, The Gallows made a shit ton of money relative to the budget, because his budget was like $50,000 or $60,000, and it made like $10 million. When you start thinking about that, you start realizing how profitable they were, which is why they kept making.
Well, it's like that's why why networks do reality, quote unquote. I've got the air quotes going here, because there's no such thing as reality TV, but reality TV because they're cheap to make.
Well, and
they return a lot of money.
Yeah, and all credit must be due to Jason Blum, who put out a shit ton of found footage movies.
Yes, he did. Yeah.
Well, the other thing about Jason Blum is when they were popular, he actually bought a lot of found footage films. The Gallows and a crap ton of the other ones were ones he acquired because he was a young company back then. Blumhouse was young. They were buying movies for cheap, releasing them in the theater, and making a crap ton of money. Yeah. I can't fault him for that.
No, I can't either. That's just sound
without him, we wouldn't have some of the found footage movies that we
Agreed.
Had.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't think Frankenstein's Army might not have been made, because that came in a long time. That's one of the more recent ones that have come out, and it's one of the best.
Yeah. I'll agree with you on that. I had so much fun with that movie.
Me too. We're going to do it. I mean, I know we've got it on the boards somewhere.
I am looking forward to rewatching that, because I have not seen that one in a long time, to be honest.
That's one of those that I'll just get a hankering for it about like once or twice a year, and then go looking for it, because I just watch it on streaming. I don't have a copy of it.
Yeah,
it's always easy. It's always easy to find, and it's just it's like, Oh God, I got to watch this one again. Yeah, because there's certain scenes in there that I always remember. He's got some memorable scenes in there.
Mm-hmm. I just love the fucking monsters, dude.
Oh, they're great.
The detail that went into designing those. Oh my God.
I love the big pot one. You know, he's great. The little pot that walks around, you know, the little assistant. If you haven't seen the movie, you think I'm crazy, but no, watch the movie and you'll see that I'm not crazy.
All right. So, Joe, what else can we say, or what else do you have to say about Apollo 18?
I still think it's one of the strongest found footage films ever made. Mm-hmm. I put it very high up on the list. I can't. I'm almost thinking it has to be my number one. Probably. I can't think of one that I thought was done better than that one. Just the artistry behind it, and it just pulls you in. So as long as you know, if you really want to enjoy movies, and I'm speaking to a crowd that probably doesn't listen to this show, but I mean, you've just got to let all sense of reality go when you go into a movie theater or sit down to watch a movie, because they're not meant to be taken seriously for the most part. They're entertainment. That's what they mean by suspend disbelief. You want to sit there and pick it all apart because, well, that wouldn't have happened and that wouldn't happen. Why are you watching movies? Just go hide in the basement and get online and harass people or something. But, these kind of movies, this one just really pulled me in. And, so you totally bought into the, for an hour and a half, I could buy into the fact that this was actual found footage. Mm-hmm. There was some kind of weird conspiracy going on where the government was conducting these covert missions in outer space, these black ops missions, without it saying, well, if they launched a Saturn V down there at Cape Canaveral, wouldn't somebody notice? Probably light up the whole damn state. But it's like, look, I don't care about that. Maybe they got a launching pad out in the middle of the desert somewhere. Who knows? But I don't worry about that stuff. I just, I just totally bought into it, and you can really have a lot of fun with this movie if you're able to do that.
And the thing is, since I've watched so many found footage films, I have a really great appreciation for suspending my disbelief.
Absolutely.
If I can watch found footage movies that like Willow Creek or Exist that have to deal with Bigfoot, or Incident at Loch Ness that has to do with the Loch Ness Monster.
That's an intriguing one. Yeah, that's Willow Creek's another one that's I especially like. Yeah,
I bring those up because those are lots of found footage films have been literally on just about everything.
Right.
So you have to suspend your disbelief in order to buy into the concept alone.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I think if you can't do that, you can't enjoy a found footage film.
No, you can't.
I think that's the hardest thing for general audiences, and the reason why something like Blair Witch Project and Paranormal Activity were a success, because, Paranormal Activity, it's your own home. Blair Witch Project is just 3 college students.
Well, Blair Witch was the first,
the first.
I pay credit to, and I can't remember the 2 kids' names. They haven't done too well with some of the other
Leonard, films. Heather Donahue, and oh my God, I used to know all 3 of them, and I can't think of the other.
I can't think of them. No, but it was like, that was a brilliant concept they came up with. The local guys from Georgia here, they went to McEachern High School, known each other, since high school, and they came up with this concept of it was all in the marketing, and then developed this whole found footage. That was brilliant. It was genius. Mm-hmm. And they made a ton of money off of it. Mm-hmm. They really didn't need to make any more movies after that one. It made enough to do that. Blair Witch 2 did not do that well. It wasn't that horrible of a movie, but
I don't think it was either.
It was like, guys, no, you did something very unique with the first one. It would have been better that you didn't try to do a sequel to it.
They went to do something different.
Yeah, standalone with the guys who created a genre.
And they just didn't want to do the same thing with the sequel. Despite the fact that they hired a documentary filmmaker to make.
That's true. That's true. And it wasn't that. And again, as a movie, it wasn't that bad, but it was, the expectations were set so high for them because of what they've done with the first. But I mean, they did do some successful television projects here and there and stuff. So it wasn't like they were, they're still around cooking.
Yeah, and then they did, of course, the Legacy before there was Legacy sequels with Blair Witch.
Yeah,
because no one knew they were making it until it came out.
Right.
But that's what my thing is with found footage is, and I've been able to suspend my disbelief very easily, which is why I can enjoy all these movies. Even movies like Devil's Due, which isn't a good movie, but there are aspects of it that I really enjoy.
Yeah.
Phoenix Forgotten, the concept I like. I just didn't like the execution.
And that's the case with a lot of these. It's the execution because
the execution.
I think found footage films are probably. You're a filmmaker. I'm a struggling filmmaker. It's probably the hardest type of movie to make.
It is,
to really get it right. It's
so many people think it's
you have got to be on your game to get this thing right.
It's not easy, and there's so many bad ones out there.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, there's a lot of people out there saying, okay, just get the guy with the camera and walk around with us and do all this handheld stuff, and that will make it fly. No, it's not that easy. It's not that easy, guys. You've got to visualize how this is going to look in camera.
Yeah.
If it really is real, actual, honest to God found footage.
Well, I will agree with you. This is on my top 5 favorite found footage films of all time. I put this up there with Blair Witch, which I've seen way too many times. And
Me too.
Is Above, So Below is another one of my favorites.
Another good one.
I would put Cannibal Holocaust, but that's not mostly found footage. It just has aspects of found.
No. Well, the most fun with that, I did get the chance to meet the guy who directed it and talk to him for quite
a while.
I
know.
He's a fascinating guy. He was amazed that he actually knew someone that had watched the movie. You've seen this movie? I was, oh yeah, absolutely, man. And just I was like his best friend for that afternoon.
But as part of our Conversation in Horror Halloween celebration this October, I'm glad we were able to sit down and discuss a found footage film.
Absolutely.
That it was actually one that we both enjoyed and we actually both think is an actually good one. And we didn't do an episode on the bad one. Oh, but by the way, I also forgot that we have done an episode on The Bay, which was another.
The Bay, yeah.
We haven't done many of these. We did Paranormal Activity and I think The Bay.
I'm looking forward to Frankenstein's Army. We're going to do that one in a few weeks, and there'll be another one that's real high on my list.
But I'm hoping that when people listen to this, that they will go out there and find, if they haven't seen Apollo 18, to go look and find Apollo 18.
Yes, yeah.
Also,
and it's easy to find. It's if you've got any kind of streaming service, like Amazon or whatever, it's on a bunch of them. So
it's pretty easy to find.
I think Tubi's got it. If you don't mind the commercials, but if you can watch it without the commercials, it's a lot more effective.
Yes.
And you really get more of a feel for it. I mean, I think with found footage films, you almost have to do that. So keep that in mind, guys.
Yeah, so keep that in mind. We also want to thank you for joining us this October. Make sure to check out all of our hunting podcast episodes this month. We have several more to go for the rest of the month.
Except for the ones I disagree with, and I won't get into that right now.
Remember to check out some of our previous episodes. If you are one of our frequent flyers, you can check out all the other great horror films we've already discussed.
Great film. You guys have done some great films this year.
And please make sure to like, subscribe, follow us on all those good things, and leave us a note of the films that you would like us to do in the future episode. We are always interested in knowing what our audience would like to hear us have a conversation in horror about.
Absolutely.
I want to thank you, Jim, for joining us today.
Oh, yeah.
And everyone out there, thank you for joining us. We had a great time. But again, have a safe Halloween this season. If you are going to go out there, have a safe Halloween. Make sure that you give plenty of candy to the little kitties out there.
Oh, yeah.
From all of us here at Something Wicked Entertainment, we wish you a great Halloween month. Everybody out there, have a good evening. See you later. Bye. Conversations in Horror is a Broken Lighthouse Pictures production, produced by Kevin L. Powers, executive produced by Kelly A. Inoka, and originally filmed via Zoom technology. Conversations in Horror is hosted by Kevin L. Powers and co-hosted by various horror film lovers and filmmakers. To learn more about Mr. Powers, please make sure to check out his Patreon page and other social media platforms. Conversations in Horror is copyright 2024 Broken Lighthouse Pictures production.